What's up, y'all? Time again for the Preakness. Now, what can we say about this one? If I just take a look at this race, looking at history, yeah, man, just box the two Baffert horses. Really? That's it? Yep. Just box the two Baffert horses and call it a day. When it get exciting, box two Baffert horses, play a try and a super with alls behind them. Historically speaking, it's not a bad bet. Bob Baffert's won this race 8 times. However, they've got to run the races. It's not quite as simple as looking at the history books when you're handicapping. Even though we look at history up and into and including the last race and the past performances, we look at the history of the horses that were the pedigree of the horses we're looking at. How well did they run in the Preakness and similar races? So history tells you a lot, but it's not the sole handicapping tool, I would say. And if you are looking at history, it's not the history of the trainer's success in the race. It's the history of the horse's success on the track in this particular horse's career. So looking at these horses, lots of similar production on the track, even from the two Baffert horses. Not to mention the history books will tell you that Dwayne Lucas has 2 horses in this race. Dwayne Lucas has won 6 Preakness stakes. So behind Bob Baffert with his 8, we got Lucas with his 6 in here. We got jockeys like Flavien Prat. He's won the Preakness before, looking to get another one. We got Kenny McPeak. Won the Preakness before. So, history doesn't tell us everything when we're looking at this race. We got to look at the horses that are running in this one. Number 1, we got to Joe Bravo riding this one, 20-1 on the morning odds. Horse is out of Biofield, a quality road horse. Quality road, good pedigree. Union Rags on the other side. Good enough, I think, to compete with this field. Horse, though, hasn't shown as much as you'd like to see from him. Hasn't won since last year. Last November, he won at Gulfstream on the artificial surface. Now, you might wonder why Mugatu is even in this race. Well, he was also eligible for the Kentucky Derby. So 5th in the Bluegrass Stakes, 8th in the Rushaway, 4th in the John Battaglia. So he earned his way into being also eligible for the Derby, but quite the competition you want to see here. He's going to be near the lead, I think. I don't really have him being too much of a threat, though. I think I have him as, the slowest race horse in this pack. If you like Joe Bravo is an accomplished jockey. Been around for a long time, never gotten a win here. Maybe he gets lucky, something happens in his favor. I'm looking elsewhere. Number 2, Uncle Heavy. Jockey upgrade with Irad Ortiz Jr. on this horse. Horse is out of Social Inclusion, Pennsylvania from this one, 20-1 as well in the morning odds. Another horse that I think is just going to be a step slow when it comes down to it. He was 5th in the Wood, 10 lengths off in a Wood that I didn't think was that fast. With Resilience winning that one. He got a win in the Withers, very slow Withers as well. That was in the mud. Before that, he had a win in the Wait For It at Parks Racing in Pennsylvania. Stepping up to Irad Ortiz Jr., let's say that takes a second off of him. I still don't think he's going to have enough speed. The horse has shown some heart, but I think he's going to be a bit outmatched in this one. Number 3. Now we're getting into the thick of it. 6-1 they got on this one. Louisiana Derby winner, Catching Freedom. Flavian Pratt, trained by Brad Cox. This horse is out of Constitution, a Tapit horse. So we're looking at the strong breeding here. 4th in the Kentucky Derby is last out behind Mystic Dan, Sierra Leone, and Forever Young. A decent showing in the Derby, even though he didn't by a lot when there's a lot of these other horses in here. He's not necessarily a cut above. Beaten by Mystic Dan. So he's shown that he can be competitive. As I said, Flavian Pratt's back aboard. He's got a win in the Preakness before Brad Cox, looking for his first. But he's going to have to overcome the likes of the 4, Muth and Bob Baffert. Like I said, Bob Baffert, 8-time winner of the Preakness Stakes, going all the way back to 1997. Silver Charm, Near Miss Triple Crown. 98, Real Quiet, Near Miss Triple Crown. 2001, Point Given, Near Miss Triple Crown. 2002, War Emblem, Near Miss Triple Crown. 2010, why am I having trouble with this one? Looking at Lucky. Old handwriting again. Looking at Lucky. 2015, American Pharaoh, Triple Crown. 2018, Justify, Triple Crown. And last year's Preakness winner, National Treasure. Should we just go ahead and rename this the Bob Baffert Stakes? Why not? Muth, Juan Hernandez, never won this race. Juan Hernandez, though. So he's looking for his first. Good Magic, sire of Muth, didn't win in this race either. He's beaten by Justify. Good Magic, however, his father was Curlin. Was the Preakness record holder tied with Secretariat until they went back and watched the tapes and said Secretariat had a faster time, and they changed the history books. I mean, I guess I wasn't alive then. People say that the time was wrong, and they said it was wrong all along, and they didn't want to change it until Curlin tied the record. And they're like, yeah, well, we got to go back in politics and horse racing. Anyway, there's a whole lot to like about this horse Muth. Also, horses run 6 times, won 4, run second twice. So he always hits the board. First or second place. Last out, a win in the Arkansas Derby. An impressive win against top competition at the time. Not allowed to run in the Kentucky Derby because of some stupid ruling made by the Churchill Downs committee people. So that's always going to be part of the controversy, especially since Fierceness didn't blast him away. Muth could have won the race. If Mystic Dan could win this race, Muth could have won the race. We're always going to have to deal with that crap. That's why I say just let them run. They stakes. Race before that, second place in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile behind Derby favorite Fierceness, where it looked like Muth was a strong favorite in that after winning the American Pharaoh. Fierceness was a 16-1 favorite at the time and came and got a big win against Muth. So we wanted to see them face up again in the Kentucky Derby. Didn't happen. Wanted to see him again in this race. Didn't happen. But here's the chance for Muth to come out and make the statement that he's the best horse this year. And that's what they're going to be trying to do. Going to be riding near the front because that's what Baffert horses always do. Don't know if he's going to get the lead, though, or not. It's going to be a bit of a tough competition. However, after that win in the Arkansas Derby, you can see why a lot of people are going to like this horse, and why he's the favorite over the Kentucky Derby winner. He's 8-5. Mystic Dan, they got it at 5-2, I believe. Kentucky, so he's the favorite over the Kentucky Derby winner. A lot of people like Muth. Number 5, Kentucky Derby winner, Mystic Dan. All right, Mystic Dan was one of those horses, as a lot of Kentucky Derby winners do. They fall off before the Derby. They don't win that last prep race. Something goes wrong, and then they tighten it up and get it done for the Derby. That happened in the case with Mystic Dan. Brian Hernandez knows the track well. That's one thing you need to win the Derby. He got a relatively clean trip, something you need to win the Derby, which having that jockey that knows the track well, and a jockey that's won aboard the horse before, which Brian Hernandez had done before that. And Mystic Dan, even though I didn't necessarily like his strategy in the Derby, the pace wasn't as fast as I liked it to be. And when you have those paces like that, it's one of those stalking horses that comes out the winner. And that one happened to be Mystic Dan, when he got the best trip. And you saw when he came out, he shot out of that final turn like he kind of came out of a rocket. Now, he got chased down by Sierra Leone and Forever Young. Yeah, and the race been a couple of yards longer, Sierra Leone would have won the Kentucky Derby. But it wasn't, and that's why I didn't like Sierra Leone, because, in my opinion, he waits too late to run too often, and it costs him sometimes by a nose. But enough about Sierra Leone. Mystic Dan out of Golden Sense, an Into Mischief horse. So it's about time that we go ahead and say that Into Mischief is a legitimate sire. Enough with thinking it's some flukiness to the Into Mischief thing. It's been shown now a couple of times. Kenny McPeak, as I said, the trainer, won this race with Swiss Skydiver a couple years back, 2020, which, I mean, there's asterisks all over 2020. Everything that happened in 2020 has an asterisk by it. Everything. So, 2020, he was able to get the win there. Horses last out. The Kentucky Derby. Not a bad time, 2:03. Not very fast as derbies go, but right along the type speed that you expected to see. The only horse I really thought was going to get much faster probably would have been was Fierceness. And he didn't run his race and didn't come through. Why people like him. Who ran second? Just Steel. Just Steel. And we're going to hear about Just Steel in a minute. The 7-horse, the Dwayne Lucas horse, with Joel Rosario aboard now. Upgrading the jockey, are we? So Mystic Dan bringing it back, mixing it up with some familiar foes. Before that Arkansas Derby, he had a win in the Southwest Stakes after running 5th in the Smarty Jones behind Catching Freedom. So, hey, it's tough to take him with low odds like that. Because even though he won the Kentucky Derby, there's the whole coming off the rest thing. And yeah, he just got through fighting a tough race to win in a mile and a quarter. Now he's only had a couple weeks off. I am not a believer in that. By the way, for the record, I believe it's what you do in totality. Much like, and not to mix basketball with horses, but there's a lot of the better basketball coaches would say, when you're in the NBA Finals, there's no need to run hard practices between these games, especially back when they used to play back-to-back, if you can believe it or not. They used to play back-to-back NBA games. Oh, my God. And there's no need to run hard practices between these games. You just make sure the players stay loose. They know how to play. If they didn't know how to play, wouldn't have made it this far. So, hey, Mystic Dan knows how to win. You don't need to work him out too hard. He knows how to win. He made it this far. And that's kind of how you treat these cases as a trainer. So I don't throw out any horse just because he ran in the Kentucky Derby, and say, well, he's going to be so tired. Now, is technically speaking, is Muth going to be fresher? Of course. Does that mean the Muth is going to have some kind of super ability or something? No. The freshness, yeah, maybe it gives you a second. It's not going to take 2-3 seconds, I think, off the horse. And I don't think Mystic Dan is going to be that tired. After winning the Derby, he had a great trip. What can I say? Mystic Dan coming back, mixing it up with the familiar foes, as I said. We'll see if he can get it done this time. Now, here's another interesting horse, Dwayne Lucas horse. They got him at 15-1 morning odds after winning the Pat Day Mile on Derby Day. Could have run him in the Kentucky Derby, put him in as an also winner. No, they put him in the Pat Day Mile on Derby Day and come up with the win. That's what you got to do. That's what I always say. You got to put the horse in a race he can win. It's not always necessary to chase the big money. Sometimes it's a lot better to go ahead and keep the horse fresh, get him with a good win, and it keeps the horse in better shape to win as well than it does to get him out there and struggle to come up with a loss. We got Dwayne Lucas. I mean, how old is Dwayne Lucas? Like 90-something years? I think he's like 92 years old or something like that, or 89 years old. Hey, we all got to 120 years. We can live to 120 years old. Unfortunately, most of us poison ourselves before then. And then there's other things that happen. But I'm not counting anything against this guy's age. Dwayne Lucas has been doing this my entire life. Why should I start going against him just thinking because he's old that he can't do it now? It's got nothing to do with it. It just means he's got more wisdom. Now, do some old people start to lose their scruples? Yes. Why? Because they're poisoned, like I just said. Dwayne Lucas, you listen to this guy talk, he sounds the same as he did when he was like in his 40s and 50s, honestly. Just tell me, I don't know, you wouldn't be able to convince me that he's that much older. 80. Codex? Yeah, I mean, I don't even necessarily know if I got that right. Why? Because I don't even remember that race. That's how long ago this race was. It's a Preakness that I don't remember. The first Preakness I remember was 84. All right. 85, Tanks Prospect. 94, Tabasco Cat. 95, Timber Country. 99, Charismatic. I remember when that happened, they said Dwayne Lucas was done. And he comes back with Charismatic, Near Miss Triple Crown. And in 2013, not only was he too old to train a Preakness winner, he had a jockey. I mean, Gary Stevens was like 50-something years old on Oxbow when he won that race. Oxbow wasn't supposed to win that Preakness. He stole the race. He read the pace. He knew that there wasn't any real front runners in the race, and he just got up and played the position and got the win. So you can't count out horses like Seize the Gray just because of Dwayne Lucas. You've got the jockey Jaime Torres riding him. Torres has ridden him a few times before. He's had some success on him. They've switched the jockey up a few times, but they put Torres back on him last time. Got the win in the Pat Day Mile. Before that, he was 7th in the Bluegrass Stakes. Nick Juarez was riding him in there, so you just kind of throw that one out. Forgive that one. Lost to Sierra Leone there. 3rd in the Jeff Ruby Stakes before that one. I believe it was Juarez again, if I'm not mistaken. Had a win before that in an optional claimer at Oaklawn. So Seize the Gray, an Arrowgate horse. Now, championship breeding. Arrowgate, another championship Baffert horse. At one thing, I think Arrowgate was like the richest horse of all time or something like that after he only won like 3 races. That's when we really started to put on that money printer and crank out all his cash so it was easy to move up those earnings ratings. They should adjust all those ratings in terms of gold, in my opinion. But that's a different story. But Arrowgate, great breeding out of Unbridled Song, and you got Smart Strike on the other side of that family tree. Seize the Gray is a horse you definitely don't want to count out, definitely considering he's coming off that win in the Pat Day Mile. Churchill Downs, 135. Going to be riding near the front. Probably not on the lead, but he's going to be with the pace. Seize the Gray, going to be live. You know what else you got to consider is going to be live is the number 7, Just Steel. They got him 15-1 as well. Dwayne Lucas, like I said, 6-time winner. Just Steel, sired by Preakness winner Justify. So you got the tie in there with Justify in the breeding. Horse is going to be riding probably near the front like he likes to. He was 17th in the Derby. I think just being too close to the pace kind of got to him on that one, as it does in the Kentucky Derby. If you're not really in the top probably 5 to 6 in the Derby. You kind of want to throw out the numbers, in my opinion, because the pace probably got you. Before that, ran in the Arkansas Derby, second behind Muth, an impressive win, or an impressive second, I would say, considering for the horse, but it wasn't very that strong as overall races go. Seventh in the Rebel before that one. Timberlake was a winner there. Second in the Southwest Stakes behind Mystic Dan. Second in the Smarty Jones behind Catching Freedom. So another horse that likes to mix it up with this familiar competition. All these horses know each other like a bunch of old ballers back from the park. So Just Steel is in there. I think he's got is just as good of a chance as any of the rest of them. Plus, with the jockey upgrade, Joel Rosario. Now, that's going to be a question. Will Rosario take the lead? Or will Rosario give the lead to one of these other hot-headed horses out here, hot-headed jockeys? I don't know. That's going to be that's probably going to tell you who's going to win the race right there. Does Just Steel get the lead, or does Rosario give the lead to somebody else? That's going to be something definitely to watch. Number 8, Tuscan Gold. Now, they had this horse listed to run last week in the Peter Pan. Skipped the Peter Pan. Back to Tyler Gaffleone with two-time Preakness winner Chad Brown. Felt like just a touch. One of those Peter Pan winner, Antiquarian. Just seems like in these last races, he just was ready to make that next step. He kind of tightened it up. Last out, third in the Louisiana Derby. Before that, he had a win at Gulfstream. Fourth at Aqueduct before that. Horse seemed to be making steps forward. Will he make that next step forward now? I don't know. They choose not to run him in the Peter Pan, so they're sticking him out here in the Preakness, a grade 1. So Chad Brown seems to think the horse can make the step up. Do you think he can make the step up? I don't know. I don't really think so. Not that I dislike the horse that much. And he's next to number 9, his last out, the Santa Anita Derby. Imagination running second to Stronghold. Frankie Dettori riding this horse. They got him at 6-1 in the morning odds. Horse is out of Into Mischief. Another horse, Baffert horse, with a great record so far this year. 6 outs, 2 wins, 4 second place showings. Imagination is definitely a horse that shows up to run every time. Imagination looking to be running up front. Baffert horse, of course. We should just go ahead and call that the West Coast offense. He's going to be running a West Coast offense, as these Baffert horses like to do. They're going to battle it out. One of them's probably going to come up with the win, if not run second. Last out, this horse, like I said, was second in the Santa Anita Derby. Before that, a win in the San Felipe. Before that, second in an optional claimer at Santa Anita. And before that, a win in 2 seconds in maiden races. Imagination, you almost want to say he's Muth just a slight bit, tiny bit slower. I mean, the tiniest bit. I mean, you might want to say he's almost like a Muth clone. You're going to get better odds on him, 6-1 they got in the morning odds, technically speaking. I mean, you got Frankie Dettori, Juan Hernandez. There's ups and downs of both of those guys. You could almost say this is the same horse. It's the same horse. If you like Muth, why wouldn't you play Imagination? I don't know. Anyway, it's going to come down to the pace. It always comes down to the pace. The pace makes the race. And so what do we have when you look here? I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 front runners. 5 front runners I count in this race. There's 9 horses in the race. It's going to be a fast pace. Should be. We're actually looking at Muth, and we're looking at Mugatu. We're looking at Seize the Gray, and we're looking at Imagination. None of those horses have to have the lead. They will run faster if they need to, but none of them have to have the lead. So I've got Just Steel taking it. The pace, I'm not even going to call that fast. I'm going to call it a 47 flat. I mean, 46-4. I don't think it's going to be much faster because Rosario is kind of a more conservative type guy, and he doesn't like to go blasting out of the gates. And I don't think Dwayne Lucas, I mean, even if he has him go out there and say, yeah, just go out there and open up and get the lead for sure, I don't think they're going to fight him too much to where it's going to make that much of a difference. 47, I say 47 flat, 46 in 4. The 3/4, I've got, more like a 1-11-1. These other horses are going to keep the pace honest. It's not going to be blazing, though. It's not going to be blazing. It's going to leave it a chance for mood and imagination, I think, to open up and make a move for the lead, because I think Just Steel just does not have the speed to be able to keep up with them. I think it's going to look good for them for a little bit, but I have this winner coming from off the pace. I've got Catching Freedom, Brad Cox, Flavian Pratt horse, closing in for the win. Catching Freedom I got coming in first. Second, I've got the Imagination 9, the Baffert horse, running second. Third place, I've got Muth, the 4, the favorite, running third. Not able to hang on for the win. And in fourth place, I'm going with the 5. Kentucky Derby winner, Mystic Dan. Mystic Dan runs in, doesn't have the speed. I think to get him, Hernandez, not Hernandez, pardon me. Hernandez. Brian Hernandez, not one. Brian Hernandez. I don't think he's going to be as familiar with this track. He's not as familiar with Pimlico as he was with Churchill. I think this is going to come down to Flavian Pratt. He's won here before. He's very competitive. He manages to get his horse into winning position almost all the time. Doesn't always come away with the win. But I think that in order to get the win from up front here, we're going to need to see more aggression out of Juan Hernandez and out of Frankie Dettori. I just don't see him doing it this race. I don't see him doing it this race. I think that the horses are strong. They're going to be in their second and third. But I think when it comes down to the strategy in this one, I've got Flavian Pratt getting his second Preakness win. Brad Cox with his first Preakness win. Let me know what you think in the comments section, but I'm going Catching Freedom. 3, 9, 4, 5 in the Super.